Hi, Novelle Petronella. Hope everyone's doing well. I don't need to tell you it's been a interesting and kind of exciting week. Um, it was nice to see some movement at all, even if it did go back down. um, so my dad flew into Florida to see me this week from New York. He was going to see some friends down in Naples, which is a couple of hours away. So he drove down to see me first. And it really meant a lot to me because when I was living in California, never got to see my family practically as much as I would want to. And now I feel like I have plans to see them like every other week. So when he got to my place, I showed him around and he was kind of quiet for a few minutes, which is not like him. And I finally said, what's wrong? And he said, no, I just thought you'd pick a different kind of area to live. And I said, what kind of area? And he said, an area with, like maybe some more refinement. And I was like, oh, is it the screwdriver holding the screen door together in the back? Is that what it is? He's like, no. I said, oh, is it the exposed wood beams where you can see the nails coming through? Is that what you're talking about? No. Oh, it must be the brown polyester curtains on the sliding glass doors. Or it could be the water damaged artwork that's hanging in the living room. It says like the art gallery of Kansas. It's supposed to say Kansas, but the S got washed out, and then I guess it like damaged the paper. It like waterlogged it, and then it dried that way, so it just looks like bizarre. And he said, "No, I'm just curious why you chose to sublet here. Like of all the places that you could have chosen, it's not very cheap." And I just remember you used to have like a really stylish house, and a nice neighborhood. And I said, well, it had a pool, so, and it's only a temporary place, so I'm not going to be here forever. So we hung out for a while, and I told him how XRP had finally gone up um, this week. And I was asking him, and he wants no part of it, by the way, but I was asking him what he thought about the idea of financial advisors for people, that do really well in crypto or like any kind of business that goes up exponentially over time. And he said, no, I don't like any of them. What are they going to do for me? They don't help you. I said, well, what about like a wealth manager? It's like an accountant, like someone, have you ever used someone like that? He said, no, it's the same thing. What are they going to do for me? He's like, I'll manage my own money. I've been doing it for decades. Uh, they are usually wrong. He said, you want to manage something? Buy land, buy property, and manage that. Get rich slow. He loves to say that. That's like his favorite thing to say. So to begin with, so you can probably manage your money better than any financial advisor, but a lot of us are not equipped that way. So it'd probably be a good idea for some of us to do that. And then he started telling me about stock ETFs, which is exactly where he left off with me about a year and a half ago when I first got into the stock market, and then everything tanked. And I was like, should I get out of this? He's like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. So I was trying to tell him that crypto, even though it's volatile, it can yield much higher returns overall in a shorter time period. But he was not having that, like any of that. So there's that. So I had that in my mind. And then yesterday I go into this frozen yogurt place and I end up speaking to the owner who informs me that he's from California and he and his wife have been living in Florida for 12 years and now they're leaving like soon to go to Oregon because they don't like it here. And I said, but you've been here 12 years and why not just leave after year one? And he said, well, number of reasons, but he didn't like some of the mentality here, I guess, is that he was saying that a lot of a lot of people are just very wealthy and they have nothing to do but spend money on things, and he finds that really boring. But like the husband, a lot of the husbands are like just buying their wives things and they're gonna pull their hair out. And I said, well, that sounds like a personality issue, not really like a wealth issue. But and he said, well, no, it's not just that. That many of the people here, if you're a guy and if you don't know about hunting or fishing or shooting guns or wrangling alligators, I guess, like you're not going to do well here. I said, well, I don't know any alligator wranglers yet, but that doesn't seem like the worst thing to do, right? And he's like, no, it is. It's the worst. I said, okay, well, happy trails. And I took my yogurt and I realized it was terrible yogurt, so I threw it out. And then I went home and I kind of woke up today like, what was that? And I kind of had this panic moment where I was like, suddenly I was just stuck in this exact moment in time and I kind of froze for a minute. I was like, yeah, wait, what exactly am I doing here in Florida? I just left my house, my friends, any security that I had. I'm currently subletting what apparently looks like a 70s porn house crash pad, and I have this XRP channel. Uh, why am I doing this? What am I doing in my life? Is it possible that one person could really sustainably enjoy one coin this much? Like, what is the matter with me? I'm like talking about it at every conceivable turn in my real life out in the world. And I kind of got a little bit dark about it for a minute. And I was like, does XRP even really need another channel? I mean, there's so many good ones. But what I came to once I chilled the hell out was that I'm simply playing a small part here. And to me, it's small, but it's very necessary because this overall space, it's full of very intelligent women and men who are good thinkers. We have really great guides regarding things like breaking down complex ideas to helping people navigate what might be coming a little bit better, to technical analysis of sorts, to helping people to kind of sift through all the misinformation that's everywhere out there right now, especially technical things, just to kind of like being on top of any XRP news in real time. And then you have people who are sort of like other kinds of attractors and artists and people like that. And you know what? I think every single one of us is passionate about what specific ingredients that we bring to the table. I think everybody in this entire community is important because, you have no idea. You don't know what's going to bring someone into this space to investigate further either, So I thought about it, and I think what I came to is this, that for me personally, what charges me up in this space the most is when I'm out in the world and I get to introduce someone to crypto who doesn't have it on their radar, like at all. Um, I like to know that maybe one day that they might have more peace of mind because they came on board at a time when the world's financial future was sort of like murky and in disarray, to put it mildly. And things are so rapidly changing in the world. Nobody that I can think of really can understand what's taking shape all the time. And so many people find their way to this sort of space and to these different personality types and people in the community that in some way or another help them get themselves rooted into a good spot on the bus here, the crazy bus. And then later, when things are sort of settled in a little bit more and they're settled in and like they realize they're going to be okay and they're happy that they secured themselves a spot or something like that. So that's what I was thinking. So this was funny. So I sent this to a couple of people this week, a couple of friends, and they had bought XRP months ago, but didn't really know anything about it, haven't really investigated, don't seem to really care. One of them is my friend Rick, who has been more or less lax about researching. Nothing moves him. You can't even really talk to him about it. He's like, oh, do I have that? Right, I forgot. So until I sent him this, and suddenly it's like the dead came back to life and he was like, what? What's going on? What's happening? Where did you get that? He's like, can I buy more? Is that accurate? So a few of the hill people have woken up. We have an awakening of like the sleeper cells. And then this morning, I got a couple of messages per usual from the resistance network of my friends that the market is down. One of my friends was like, what is a whale and why is he messing with the prices? Because I just read an article and I don't know what's happening. And he's like, do you see that it's down a certain percent? Where is it? Oh, I saved it. Here it is. So he sent me this. And essentially, I know I answered the best that I could, but whereas normally I would probably push the issue a little more, like, this is the time to buy, I just kind of glossed over that to say that you know what you should do if you're curious, look at financial entities and people putting out these articles and ultimately watch their actions, and that'll tell you all you need to know. You're going to hear a lot of things, but just watch. And I think at this point, if people want to get into this, they will, most likely more due to attraction rather than any kind of promotion. We all know what we have here, and if it's a long game, that's okay. It could be longer than we think, but I think a lot of us are not going anywhere. And yeah, so that's that. So I was I was talking to someone last night, and we were talking about the idea that if you want to see a person's future, that you can just look at their history to get a better idea. And it's not that I think that patterns can't be broken, but because I definitely think that they can be, but I think you can usually get a good idea of where they're headed. So if you were looking to date someone, for instance, and they've never had a job, or like maybe they like to beat up their partners, you're probably, you're going to be seeing a lot more like that. But if they have a history of doing something positive, then likewise they're going to likely, repeat that too. And I was thinking about it, and the more I see it in action, the more I can appreciate how this is exactly how cyclical analysis works in the market. Bo Polney calls it cyclical analysis anyway, and I have to say he's been almost to the letter very accurate on the timing of the market and the price movements lately, because I've been watching. And Awake, this guy does really good chart comparison from like years past to present day and how things are shaping up right now, and like the comparison of the two. He lines up the two charts of like the two timelines and the fluctuations of them, and they're almost completely the same, with little variance, which is really interesting. And then this morning, Digital Asset Investor went into some historical data in the crypto charts and how it relates to like present day trends. Kind of the same concept, whatever you call it. If you call it cycle analysis, historical data, historical overlap, I just made that up, but not a bad idea, I think, to include some of those types of analyses alongside like TA stuff that you might be checking out. But from what I've seen, I think it's a lot more accurate in predicting overall moves in the market. I don't know how exactly it all shakes out. Bitcoin Ben was talking about a friend of his that does blockchain analysis, and that's sort of the same type of thing where you're looking at the history, or because it's all sort of like in there, immutable. It's not, you can just track, you can see everything that's already been done. It's like an imprint. And obviously nothing is perfect, of course, but right now, with all of the unexpected dips and manipulations and disinformation and the riddles, it's like you don't know sometimes how to discern which ones are accurate and how to navigate. So I think it does help to see some aerial view perspective. But speaking of riddles, I think lately I'm just, sometimes it gets to a point where I think everything is a riddle. Like someone sent me an article, he doesn't even know anything about crypto, but he sent me an article on something random the other day, and I caught myself looking for the hidden meaning after I read it. I was like, what am I doing? I didn't find any, but that's essentially it. Oh, one more thing, just a little PSA, quick PSA as we head into the weekend. I don't know if you've seen Misty Sins. She's got some interesting posts. When she goes to a place like Vegas or wherever she is, she takes pictures of Bitcoin or crypto ATMs and posts them on Twitter. And it's always interesting to see that. But she posted this morning, and I like her crypto ATM post, but I just kind of want to send a word of caution that these two, I'm all for sexy liberated women, but these two liberated chicks are actually men. So tread lightly in Vegas, fellas, because sometimes they don't tell you until after. That could be a problem. So open carry, by the way, could be a play on words. We're definitely a community that likes riddles, so yeah, proceed with caution.